So my friends and I decided before seeing this movie that Goosebumps could only be one of two things. It could either be terrible or it could be pretty good. There's no in between, it had to be one of those two. And I'm here to tell you today which one it definitely was. So Goosebumps is directed by Rob Letterman. It's based off of the popular book series Goosebumps by R.L. Stein, and it tells the story of a kid named Zach. He moves to a new town and actually moves in right next to R.L. Stein, and one night when he goes into R.L. Stein's house and ends up opening up one of the manuscripts for Goosebumps, the monster from the book actually comes to life. This actually causes an array of monsters to come to life once Slappy the Dummy opens up all the books and tries to wreak havoc on the town and Stein himself, and now it's up to these kids and Stein himself to stop it. Now, I'm a huge fan of Goosebumps. I've been reading Goosebumps since I was a very young child, and I still read them sometimes today. There's a TV show for Goosebumps, and it's awesome. I don't care what anybody else says. It can be so bad it's awesome. I don't care. It's just great. And so, when they announced they were making a movie out of it, I didn't know how to feel. I kind of felt like they were going to ruin it, but then all these good reviews started coming in, so I was like, okay, maybe they actually made a good movie. And then I saw the movie, and I don't care what anybody else says, this movie sucks. Not only is this movie not as good as everybody's saying it is, it's worse than that. Though there are a few beneficial factors in this movie, most of it is overshadowed by a plot that's dumb and boring, full of cliches and annoyances that I sat in my seat cringing about, characters that are dumb, unoriginal, and undeveloped, comedy that is a hit and miss, and most of the time it is a miss, and almost everything in this movie being stupid. Now, I will give credit where credit is due, and one of the best things about this movie is Jack Black as R.L. Stein. I am a huge fan of Jack Black, and he did a very, very well done job. He made him a funny character, a character that I actually liked in the movie, and a character that actually wasn't as unoriginal and boring as a lot of the other characters were. His character was interesting, it had a good background story to him, and he was funny most of the time when he talked and made jokes. And other than Stein, the only other awesome characters in this movie are really the Goosebumps characters themselves. It's really cool to actually see the characters from books I grew up with actually on the big screen, and even though they're animated not that well, they're still really cool to see on the screen, and especially Slappy the Dummy. Slappy the Dummy was one of my favorite characters from the Goosebumps series, and he still is to this day, and I think they represented him very well in this movie as the main villain, who gets all the other Goosebumps characters together in order to fight R.L. Stein and to try and destroy him. He was kind of interesting. His story behind why he was doing it was really well done, and I think that the bad puns he made throughout the entire film actually added to it. And one of the only other positives I can say for this movie is that it is funny at times, like really funny. A lot of the time, it is a lot of childish jokes that I didn't find funny at all, but there are quite a few times where I was sitting there like, that's actually really funny. When you're comparing Detroit to North Korea, that made me laugh, especially when it's in a kid's movie. So adults can have a little bit of fun while watching this, even though it is hampered down by a lot of really dumb kids' jokes. And other than those things, this movie is terrible in every other aspect. Let's start off with the characters first. The main characters in this movie are the most copy-pasted characters I've seen in a very, very long time. You have Cody, the high school kid, who moves next door from a new town. You have Hannah, the girl who lives next door to him, who he starts liking immediately within the first 5 minutes of meeting her. You have Champ, the dumb character that gets everything wrong that's supposed to try and be the comedic relief in a comedy movie, and it just doesn't work. He's not that funny, like, at all. Cody himself is not that interesting of a character, and Hannah is another not interesting character. And those are the three of the four main characters, with only one of them being actually pretty good, which is R.L. Stein. And now let's talk about the storyline of this film, which is a mixture of boredom, stupidity, cliches, and conveniences that are so frequent that it just ruins the movie. The movie starts out within the first half an hour trying to get you developed with these characters and making you interested in them, but really they just steal every single scene from another dumb kids movie, and really these scenes turn out to be more boring than they are interesting, and they don't really build any character development. They're really just there to show, oh, look at these two kids, maybe they'll have a relationship, I don't know, And then it introduces the new friend who is really dumb and incompetent and will get everything wrong throughout the rest of the film, and you know this because you've seen it in all the other kids' movies. It takes at least a half an hour for them actually to introduce any Goosebumps characters into the movie, and even when that happens, it becomes a little bit more interesting, but then when you start to think about it, it becomes more cliched and convenient than ever. For instance, there is a book on the ground, and they're like, don't open it, and then the dumb friend picks it up and opens it, and you're like, oh, really? That totally just happened? I wouldn't have expected that. And then, like, things like, how do those books open? Don't you have to open them with your hands? But apparently they just fly open. Slappy has to do it later in the movie with his own hands, so why did it just open randomly? It doesn't make any sense, but it's just there because they have to make it so something's convenient so that the plot can progress, but it's just too annoying for me to not notice it. And then, through this flurry of conveniences and cliches that had me bored out of my mind, while I was trying to actually laugh at some of the comedy, they actually introduced a plot twist about halfway through the movie, and I'm like, okay, this is cool, I like this plot twist, I think it could actually make the movie better if they use it correctly, let's see where they go with it, and they use it in the most convenient way possible. It's super predictable on how it's going to end. Literally from that moment on, you can tell how the movie is going to end as soon as they enter in that plot twist. It literally does not affect the movie in any way and doesn't really make it any much better. Also, the animated characters in this film are animated very, very poorly. This is what I would expect from a 1990s Goosebumps cartoon, except they took that animation and they put it in a live action movie for 2015. It looks bad, it doesn't really reflect what I think that they would look like within my mind, and really I just did not care for the animation at all. However, the reason why I think this film is getting so good reviews is because of the nostalgia factor. People grew up reading Goosebumps, and when people review this, they're like, yeah, it's not that great of a movie, but you know, it has Goosebumps in it, and it's a kid's movie, so it's better than most kids' movies, or it's at least as good as regular kids' movies. But I need to reiterate something. Just because it's okay for a kids' movie does not mean it's good for a regular movie. With a movie like Inside Out, that movie is made for kids. But when you watch it, adults can enjoy it too, because I enjoyed it. I gave it a 5-star rating because it is very emotional. It has a lot to do with stuff. But really, this movie is just no emotions at all. I didn't care for any of the characters, and it was predictable, and the storyline was dumb. There was only like 1 or 2 characters that were awesome, and really this movie just fails. I'm going to compare this to another nostalgic film that came out this year, which is Pixels, starring Adam Sandler. As I thought more and more about this movie, literally every single plot point is copied off of Pixels, and I'm going to get in depth into this. So right now, I'm going to start talking about major spoilers for both Goosebumps and Pixels, so if you don't want to see those, click to this point in the video right now. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Okay, let's start from the beginning of both these movies. In Goosebumps, you introduce the generic teenager that nobody really cares about. And in Pixels, you introduce the guy who plays video games who nobody really cares about. And then he meets a love interest in the movie. Both of them do, and they're just like whatever love interests are gonna fall in love in 2 days. You understand that that's going to happen. Then introduce the friend who is clumsy and dumb and really is just annoying through most of the movie and not really beneficial to it. In this one, it's Champ. In Pixels, it's Kevin James' character as the president. Then let's have it be really boring for a while, even though they introduce a cool topic, which is there's Goosebumps characters in this one, and then there's aliens that look like arcade games coming to attack Earth. And both of these have conflicts that the characters need to solve. But really, these are just really boring, except for some of the monsters look kind of cool, and they can work really well for scenes, but really there's nothing much to like other than that. Then let's introduce or further develop a character, just like in Goosebumps when they further developed R.L. Stine, and in Pixels when they introduced Peter Dinklage's character. Both those characters are really well done, and I really enjoy them, and the actors who play them do a very good job, and they are the best characters in the movie. Then let's have some more kind of boring, campy storyline to intervene between these points, and then let's introduce a twist in the storyline. In this one, it's the fact that Hannah is a monster for R.L. Stine. And in Pixels, it's the fact that for some reason the aliens just decided, you guys have done something wrong, we are going to come destroy Earth, there's no way that you can win now. And then that's a cool twist. You're like, okay, what's going on? Why did this happen? And it could be cool, but then they just make it the dumbest way that they can just resolve the conflict that's caused by that, and it's just dumb in that way. And then let's have a final battle between all the characters and the humans. In Goosebumps, they attack a school full of high school students and they have to fight them. But you know nobody's gonna get really hurt because it is a kids movie. And in Pixels, you have the final climactic scene with the humans against the alien arcade games. And you know nobody's going to get hurt because if somebody did, then people would whine and moan and complain for the rest of the movie like, I miss this character, do. And then they think of a way to end it, and then the character's love interest ends up having to go away. In Goosebumps, it's Hannah who has to get sucked back into the book because the way the movie ends is, oh, this girl is a monster, and the way that the book ends is the fact that all the monsters get sucked back into the book and are enclosed forever. And in Pixels, it's the girl that Josh Gad falls in love with who ends up being sucked back into the alien world once they destroy the alien mothership. And then you're sitting there and you're like, you have to make the audience happy, so you're going to reintroduce the characters again, right? And that's exactly what happened in both movies. R.L. Stine writes a story about that, and for some reason, it doesn't even explain it in Pixels, the girl just comes back. The movie ends with the guys getting with the girls and everybody being happy in the end and the world is saved. However, the reason why I think Goosebumps is getting higher ratings is because Pixels stars Adam Sandler, and everybody just thinks it's awesome to just bag on Adam Sandler. Now, I admit, all of his movies recently have been terrible, including Pixels. But really, the reason why this movie is getting high ratings is because Adam Sandler's not in it. If Adam Sandler was in it, everybody would realize how bad this movie actually is. So yeah, that's Goosebumps. A movie with two kind of cool characters in it, played by one really good actor, who I really enjoy throughout the entire film. Some jokes that are really funny, but a lot of them that are terrible. A lot of characters that are stupid, generic, and boring. A storyline that is full of cliches and conveniences that just annoy me throughout the entire movie. An ending that's just like, okay, well, we're just trying to set up a sequel. Everything about Goosebumps is bad. It literally is Pixels, except it doesn't star Adam Sandler. The plot points are the same, and really, this movie is just bad. I'm going to give Goosebumps 1.5 stars. Sadly, I think this movie's gonna actually make a lot of money this weekend because a lot of kids read Goosebumps and a lot of adults who read Goosebumps when they were a child are probably gonna go see this movie. So let me know below, what movie do you think should be #1 at the box office this weekend? Maybe it could be Crimson Peak or Bridge of Spies or this one, or it could be an older one like The Martian. Whatever you think, comment below and let me know. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.